Uncover the wisdom of the feminine through soulful conversations on spirituality, healing, relationships, self-leadership, sovereignty, and so much more. I'm your host, Tamar, Gail, feminine embodiment facilitator, feminine arts mentor, and soul tantrika. In this podcast, my goal is to take you deeper into the world of the feminine, stepping more into your feminine pleasure, power, authentic truth, and your sovereignty. Welcome to the Feminine Codes podcast. So welcome back to the Feminine Codes podcast. And today I have a very special guest who we've known each other for, we were in yoga in Thailand together years ago, studying the sacred female yoga. And she shares a lot of wisdom that I think would be perfect for all of you. So I'm going to let Kate introduce herself and then we'll go from there. Kate.
Thank you, Tamar. Thank you for having me on. And I just wanted to offer that, whenever I tune into your podcast, like your voice and your wisdom, it just like drops me right into those beautiful places in myself. So thank you for this space.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And also for sharing your wisdom with us, because I know that your post I feel the same about, and I think that we resonate a lot with each other with the work that we're doing in the world, and I am just so excited to have you share that today.
Thank you, hun. Thank you. So to introduce myself and like what brought me to this point, or maybe if I even just go back to where we met, because I feel like if I tune back into that time in my life, I was really in that underworld journey of awakening to my feminine self. I was about 14 months into motherhood, having birthed my son, and very powerful home birth, which, I called that in. I felt really committed to having a natural birth. And yet I didn't really know what that was going to mean. And I didn't really understand, like, there was a real veil for me, like beyond birth and what was going to happen next. And it really was like I fell off a cliff into motherhood. And my son's nearly 8 now. And so it's been nearly 8 years of kind of like integrating that birth experience, integrating who I was before motherhood and who I am as a mother. And motherhood really as this catalyst to awakening to my feminine self. And us meeting in Thailand and doing the sacred female yoga training was a really deep calling for me to sort of make sense of this really messy moment in my life. And there's been things onward from that, but that was like a really key healing moment and a key part of my journey in terms of like reclaiming my feminine knowing, coming back into connection with my body, and healing from a lot of disconnection, dysregulation, and not really knowing who I was at that point in time, to now being at a place where I feel that I have a sense of myself, and I also have a sense that everything that I went through, all that sort of messiness, all that disconnection, like that's now my calling to serve others from that underworld journey and bringing forth the treasures that I discovered there.
I love that. And I agree that month, because we were there for a month, just immersed in sacred feminine teachings and embodiment. And I remember that time. So like it was life-changing. It was really a pivotal moment for myself as well. And I had already been working some with women in sensuality and all of that, but the depth of what we went through especially like as a group of women coming together for a whole month and solely focused on our like growth and embodiment and going deeper into our bodies for awakening. There was a moment when like the primal feminine like really came through my body, and to be honest, like I really felt like I wanted to get on the ground and like growl. It was like this really primal energy that wanted to come out, and I was like, wow, that is so powerful to tap into that energy in the body that it's never left me. And I would love to hear some of the magic that you've created in your life from the moment that we saw each other, from that time. Share with us.
So, like, yeah, as I sort of said, I feel like that month was sort of the beginning in a lot of ways, and such an incredible month, and so much healing happened in that time. And then I came home and I came back to my life, and it's taken time to really integrate all that and more learning, more training, um, yeah, more support to actually take all that temple magic and know how to sort of live it in my day to day life. Like as a mother, as someone who's living in the suburbs, and in a lot of ways, like I have a very normal looking life, from the outside, and yet have been going through this process of like, yeah, stepping out of the matrix, really, stepping out of that false world of, um, like all the cultural programming. It's taken a lot of time. And I guess what I was reflecting on before we connected for this conversation on something that makes me really like I feel like I've worked through this sadness and this grief, but if I reflect on the person I was at the training there, to do that training, I left my son for a month. He was only 14 months old. And I did not understand how important I was to him as his mother back at that moment in time. And, he was with his dad, he was with my partner, with my mum. I had beautiful support to go and do that training, and he was well cared for. But it makes me sad for the version I was that really just did not understand the sacredness of being a mother, and sort of not really understanding the impact on him of me leaving. Like I would have handled it all very differently. But I also understand that unless I'd made that decision to go and do that training and expose myself to those teachings and have that experience, I would never have got to do the healing that I needed to do to understand, yeah, the sacred role of being a mother and being his mother. Um, and it really wasn't until like a few years later that, I came into contact with understanding more those teachings around healthy attachment and things like that, that I had this awakening moment of like realizing how I'd handled leaving him for that training and just wishing that I'd done it really differently, and, wondering like what sort of trauma I'd caused him from making that choice. And so from that moment, there's been, yeah, another few years on where I've got to reflect and understand that and forgive myself. And also I have tools now to support him with his emotions, with his processing, like even as a little one, so that he doesn't necessarily have to, like, yeah, I mean, I guess to a degree, like that would have been like quite a moment that shaped him. But I understand that, yeah, we're all on healing journeys, and even our little ones. So that I've been able to support him in moments to release his tears and to release his anger, and, not that he can verbalize, oh, it was because of that moment, but just knowing that every time I'm able to hold space for him, I'm allowing him to stay with that fluidity and that authenticity of himself as he grows, so that when he becomes an adult, he doesn't have to unpack his whole childhood necessarily. And so knowing that is, yeah, what allowed me to sort of forgive myself for, you know, like what I see as an error in judgment in terms of how I navigated that moment. But yeah, if I think of that, something I'm really passionate about sharing with women is this idea of wholeness, and that there's really no wrong and bad moves. Like when we see things from that higher level perspective in terms of the messiness of the human journey. And I feel that that has been, yeah, the magic that I've got to step into is really being able to hold that messiness and that magic for myself and for, yeah, the women that I work with. Um, yeah, through going through a very messy journey myself. So,
I think, and I believe that we all do, right? We all go through that messy journey, and it's kind of like learning how to love ourselves through it. I mean, I have. I've gone through I am really messy journey throughout my life. And now at this space, it's kind of this, I resonate with what you're saying so much because it's like I've come back to this place of loving myself so deeply. And doing that inner child work has been pivotal for that as well, where you say that you don't, you want to help your son go through this now and experience how to process things now so he doesn't have to do that later on. And I don't think that I really understood the power of inner child work until I was probably 35, 34, 35. And that's really when I started to understand that I needed to go deeper inside myself and to begin that healing process of looking at those places of where I've been. And it has really brought me to this wholeness, as you say, to love all of me, which really brings to me the love of life. Like, and being able to love others for who they are and this in this depth of heart opening, heart expansion that continues to grow every day.
mhm.
Yeah. So I love what you're doing with your son and the journey that you've been on. And it's really something that's come up for me lately around children and how we hold space for them and how we teach them. And I am not a mother yet, maybe one day. I don't know, but I really think that's beautiful. As a mother, I just see the mother as something so sacred and so important because you're like mothers are raising the next generation.
Mm. Yeah, and I feel that even though you're not a physical mother, being an embodied woman is, and so your capacity to actually connect with like that soul level of like a little one and to really see them in their full humanity, like that is so powerful and that is such a transmission as well to like any little people that you share space with or come into contact with. And, the journey that I've been on shows me that, yeah, our culture, like, in terms of like Western culture, like you're in America, I'm Australia, but it's quite anti-child in a lot of ways. Like the ways that I've learnt and, decided that I've wanted to raise my son, it's very countercultural and it's very challenging in moments to really honor them when so much of what you're surrounded by, like the culture and the environment, is not necessarily aligned with that. So yeah, it brings up a lot of stuff, and it's not an easy path, but the feminine path is not it's not an easy path, as you know.
It's not, but it's not. It's definitely not. But it is a beautiful path. And what it brings into our life through that embodiment and through that coming back into wholeness
Mm,
is is quite magical in itself. Scale, like every layer of existence, it just opens up so much magic in life. What are a few practices that you have found that really take you yourself
mm,
into this space? Because the space is sacred, our body is sacred. Like, and whenever we choose to honor that and find devotion in how we honor our self, our body, our life, like it really shifts. And so, do you have practices that you do to help you come back into that space whenever things get a little bit crazy in life, which happens?
um, yeah, I mean, obviously, like the beautiful sacred female yoga, the women's embodiment that I learned back in Thailand has been something that I've continued with, continues to be an anchor for me, like, especially at the end of the day, getting on my mat and just allowing that like voicing of my feelings in like a non-verbal way, and just that having that understanding of how to actually move energy through my body and emotions through my body. Because yeah, like I can notice that, yeah, I can be very, it's very easy to just get in your head. There's a lot to do in any day. Being a mom and a partner, part of a community, there's just so many things that pull your attention outside of you and into that sort of more masculine mode of being. So yeah, that end of day practice is really important for me. And now that my son's a little bit older, like this morning, and like a practice that I've got to do more often now is like actually some breath work in the morning too. So he can entertain himself for long enough now, and I can communicate to him like, I'm doing my breath work, so you do your drawing, and then we'll get breakfast. But aside from those things, like I think one of the most powerful things for me has been what I call like the power of the pause. Like just those little micro moments throughout the day of like attuning inwards, attuning to my body, feeling my feet on the ground, looking at nature, getting outside barefoot and just feeling the earth, feeling the grass. Um, because yeah, that was like a real challenge point for me of like pre-mum when I do hours of yoga every day and then just not having access to that like as a mum, and yeah, just having to integrate and find other ways to honor and connect with myself. And so those, yeah, little micro moments, and that's really how we build that more consistent presence versus like leaving ourselves behind all day and waiting until the end of the day just to give yourself 20 minutes. Like that has been like a key thing for me.
Actually, I agree with you so much on that. And for me, it's all about presence, like being present in the moment. And I have clients that I encourage to set their timer, like set a timer on your phone for different times throughout the day. And whenever that timer goes off or whenever the alarm goes off, then just take a couple, even a minute, even 1 minute to either take, some deep breaths and recenter yourself in your body, go outside and just breathe fresh air, take a sip of water and just be present with the water. But whatever you can do, whatever, have a list of things that actually bring you back into your body. And then pick one of those on those whenever the alarm goes off. And it's all about the pause, as you said, and presence to that moment. That
Mm-hmm.
is so important. Um, for me, it's also a connection with nature. And I I need nature the way that I need air to breathe. Like for me, it's a connection to the Great Mother, connection to um, life itself. And I just find that moment and nature helps to I guess, regulate my nervous system to a place that I can breathe whenever things get a little bit hectic or I get in my head too much during the day. There's little moments that, stress comes up, and it's just that practice that I have to recenter myself and come back, regulate my nervous system as well.
Absolutely.
I think nature
Mm.
is so important.
Yeah, and that's we forget that we're part of nature in, or well, that has been like a big healing for me, is to feel myself as part of nature. Like I am nature, like my body is nature. So when we're tending to our body, we're honoring like the naturalness of us, and we're returning ourselves to that natural world. And yeah, like you said, it's the most foundational basic things of honoring our physiology that make such a huge difference. And part of that really is that connection with the elements, being outside as much as possible, the morning sunlight, the earth underneath our feet, fresh air. Yeah, it's so basic, and yet it makes such a huge difference. And it can take quite a bit to actually um, prioritize that. Yeah.
Especially in our Western, society, our cultures are so on the go. They're so, and I believe it in Australia, it's very similar to the US. I think New Zealand, where I lived, it was a little more calm, at least back in the day when I lived there. But goal like the goal setting and the consistent going and going and going, I just find that our culture is so disconnected from being able to reconnect with nature, being able to find the sacredness in life itself. And
Mhm.
without those moments of regulating and connecting and remembering and being present, taking that pause, we actually don't know how beautiful life can be. We don't really connect with that. And I see that so many times in people that I meet. It's this, they're so full of stress and sometimes pain and hurt and disconnect that they haven't been able to experience that. And there's this feeling of deep longing for something that they're missing,
Mhm.
something that they can't put their finger on. And I hear that a lot from the women that I work with, especially when they start doing the practices. They're like, I feel like there's something that I'm longing, something that's missing. And they start to awaken and really begin to find themselves.
Mhm. Yeah, that's so beautiful.
Mhm.
And yeah, I know that longing, like we all know it as women, and that longing is for ourselves
It is.
ultimately. It's and that's what I felt in my own journey, and that's like what you're speaking to there in the culture. When we're in that survival mode, like, our nervous system being dysregulated, living in our head, like way off in the future, feeling like all these things need to happen for us to feel that sense of satisfaction, when actually you can just dial it right back and come in and be present with yourself and discover that that feeling that you're chasing is like accessible right here and now. And you offer a beautiful practice in one of your other episodes of just like coming into feeling, where you were talking about how the feminine isn't for, like, we can't force the feminine, it's to feel her. And that's, I mean, I was at a 5 minute practice and it was just so beautiful. It doesn't have to take long, but yeah, it is the consistency. And um yeah, it is like kind of like slowing like a runaway train. It can feel like, to start to soothe our nervous system and start to build those pathways into that deeper presence with ourselves.
It is. It is. And it can take some adjustment. It can. Yeah. But the gift that comes from that is so beautiful. And it's almost like once you see it, you can't unsee it. And
Mm-hmm.
it just takes those moments to get to that place where you can actually feel it, which is what we're doing in the body. And once
Yeah.
you feel it, you don't want to go back to being disconnected from that feeling anymore. And I find, like, for myself, it's a very similar. I mean, I had knee surgery a few months ago, so I can't do all of the practices, the movements, the yoga like I was. I'm getting back there, but I miss it. It's like my body craves those times on my mat, those times that I can really move and embody those movements, the spirals that are they're so powerful. Like some of my favorite movements. This is one yoga that I have never gotten tired of doing.
Yeah.
I've been practicing yoga since 2005, and this is the only one that's been able to keep my attention every day. But because you come into your body, because it's so embodied and really juicy, actually, but also powerful in a somatic way of
Mm-hmm.
releasing. And I'll just add in there like the practices like this, I guess, so to speak, is something that actually helped me heal from PTSD
Oh, wow.
coming into the body. So the trauma that can happen in life and just, yeah, it was really, really incredible. I felt like at one point, and I was doing these movements, like a chain broke off of my throat. And
Wow.
I could, somatically, you don't really need to understand what was broken off, what opened up, what healed in that moment. But to know the power of what can be is really, yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's embodiment practices like that are something that's so important on a daily for me as well.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that's understanding like embodiment work and somatic work, like you don't necessarily have to understand everything cognitively, like um and that can actually keep us stuck in our healing process, right? Like, being in the stories of like um the stories of our life. And it's not that that's not important or relevant, but the power of actually just meeting the feelings and sensations in our body in any given moment, and the power of that to dissolve and shift those stories is, it's just potent. It's true liberation, I feel, when you understand how to actually work with your physiology, and the power of our physiology to shape our reality. I guess a key learning for me has been to recognize that the state of our nervous system actually drives a lot of the quality of our thinking. So when we know how to shift our nervous system, which embodiment practices just naturally and effortlessly do, bring more regulation and coherence, it changes your thoughts. And to make that really tangible, like, I wonder if you've experienced this, and I'm sure that you have, when you get on your mat at the start and maybe there's things looping, things you're worrying about, problems to fix and solve. And then by the end of the session, it's like the creativity and the inspiration, and that's just speaking to that shift at that physiological level that happens through that attuned movement, the breath, and the sounding as well.
Yes, yes, it is. I feel that as well. And I think that's the one not the one thing, but that is a part of it that I love. It's like when you've had those big moments, those stressful moments, and you're in your head, and we all get there, every one of us, like we have those moments. So how do we come back into that feeling of being able to breathe again and just have a clear head? And you know what? Life is gonna work it out. Like, okay, like I can let go. I can let go and surrender and trust. And the ideas flow in. It's almost like that channel opens up within our body, that connection. And I speak a lot of that about the womb
Mm-hmm.
work. And as we come into the womb, how that activates our inner oracle and our intuition, and our higher self is able to come through and really give us some clarity there.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, I mean, our pelvis, our womb, it really is the seat of our power, like our primal feminine, our vitality. Um, yeah, like that, I guess when I first came to feminine work, and it was like, oh, the feminine rising, and that's true, but I've learned that we sort of have to root down first. We really have to go down, we have to descend, and that's what my early motherhood journey was all about. It was like, no, you've got to feel this stuff. Like I've got to get comfortable in the dark and the dirty. And that becomes that compost for our growth and for our evolution, for our elevation as well. So, um, yeah, and even now, like I can feel myself resisting those moments or those challenging feelings, but yeah, a much greater capacity to, or there's just a different reference point for them where they're not wrong and bad. It's just part of it.
Part of it.
It's part of our fullness. Yeah.
I still go through those moments. Like I think we all do. It's that peeling back of the onion of I've been doing a lot of deeper like womb work to kind of take my work deeper. And a couple things came up probably about a month ago within a week span of time. And I found myself in the car, which is usually when things are quiet and I feel because I'm not busy doing anything else. And when I pulled up to the house, I'm like, oh, I need to go in and I need to, start dinner. And I had all these things that I needed to do instead of feeling what I needed to feel and move through. And I caught myself and I was like, no, because if I go inside, I'm not going to cry. I'm going to move out of it and I'm not going to experience and move through what like the healing process that's needing to happen right now. And so I sat in the car and I gave myself however long that I needed to move through it. And that was it. It was over. Like I
Yeah.
actually, it healed within those minutes that I allowed myself to just process and move through those emotions. And so that's the power of sitting with, I guess, the roots of who we are. growing our roots deeper to sit with those emotions so that we can transform and move through the rebirth process of it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that we really did come here to feel it all on that soul level. Um, and I think it's, yeah, as I've gone on my journey, like it's not, and when I hear this idea of nervous system regulation, like for a long time to me, that was about being calm and happy all the time, which, I've come to understand that it's really not that. It's really our capacity to feel safe in all our feelings, like the sadness, the grief, the anger, the rage, whatever it is that wants to move through, you get to feel it. And yeah, it doesn't derail you, it doesn't destabilize you. You know that it's okay to feel those things. And yeah, when there's the spaciousness there in our life to feel it, it doesn't have to take that long.
It really doesn't. Yeah, it's more just about the feeling and also knowing that it's okay, knowing that you're safe in those feelings. And I think that is a big thing that I see with the clients that I work with, the women that I work with, is knowing that you're okay. You're gonna be okay. It's gonna pass through, and you can process that, self self-regulate and self like nurture, like mother yourself, and move through whatever is there so that you can step more into your power.
Yes. Yeah, and the power that is just meeting your authentic experience, like in the moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Accessing that for sure. I would love to open up this space, and is there more that you would like to share with everyone just on this topic? Like feel into whatever's
Mm,
coming up for you and what wants to be shared. Mm.
mm. I think, or I feel, I feel this sense of, yeah, for a long time I used to judge those feelings. I wanted to feel all the good things. And yeah, if sadness came up or anger came up, like I would judge them as wrong, or I would take them as a sign that somehow I wasn't on track, or that I was falling behind, or I was failing somehow. Whereas I guess what I've come to understand is that we're never falling behind. Like everything is actually taking us higher and more into ourselves. Like there's nothing outside of us, and that we really did come here to experience all of these different textures of life. And like if we go back to that conversation around nature, like I love to look to nature to inform me of what is real and true. So I did a workshop on the weekend actually, and I was just describing how the theme of the workshop was soft and fierce, this idea that we get to be soft and we get to be fierce as women. And so if we look to nature, we have these beautiful blue sunny days in nature. And we also have these wild thunderstorms. And we don't judge the thunderstorms as wrong and bad. It's just part of it. And we know too that after that thunderstorm, there's this beautiful stillness and clearing that gets to happen. And so, if we understand our own emotions and own like inner landscape as like having all those different elements, then I think it gives us a reference point for just feeling the okayness and the safety in all our different feelings and experiences as women.
Mm,
Men's because yeah, the men go through it too.
they do. Yes, they do. And that's so beautiful. Yes, I love that. I'm working with a new goddess this month in the Royal Codes Embodiment Circle, and she's all about that. She's about the wild nature, about the storms and the rebirth. So I think that's it's very powerful in what you shared. Um, what are you doing? So I guess the last question is, what are you doing now with your women? Like for whoever's listening to be able to find you, to be able to connect with you, to follow you. And I'll definitely be sharing your links below. But would you like to share anything around that?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So my focus for the start of this year was, yeah, my in-person events. So obviously for, your community over in America, that's a bit out of reach. But for anyone listening in Australia or Melbourne, I'm offering a regular monthly event called Soma and Soul. So it's a beautiful 3-hour class with a 2-hour embodiment practice, which yeah, really just focuses on that embodiment. So not necessarily a lot of new concepts or teachings. It's just like an opportunity for women to come and be in their bodies and to feel their feelings. Um, and yeah, I also have like an online studio with like on demand practices that's available. A lot of sort of shorter ones too. When I put it together, it was really like thinking of like busy mums, but um, I see my work as like focused on any woman in the motherhood phase of life. So whether it's someone who wants to be a mother one day, because everything I've learned, if I had have learned it before I actually became a mum, it would have been really helpful. And yeah, I'm also just in the process of putting together some new one-to-one packages. I was doing sort of single sessions and some just 5-session packs last year, but I really want to take women on a journey. And so there's a new offering I'm working on at the moment, which will be called Held. And it'll be a journey to really supporting a woman to know how to hold herself in all those different feelings and experiences, and to arrive at that place of having those inner resources of having that sense of like I've got this, like I've got me, because I feel like that's what all this somatic embodiment work, that's the core of what it's given me. And so I would love to support other women in that as well.
That's so I can't wait to see where you go with this and what you come up with. And if you're not following Kate, you should definitely follow her. Um, yes, your posts are incredible. I wish that I was there because I don't know that women really understand the power of what happens whenever you come together in person and do this work together. And I am sending a blessing your way because this is really beautiful work that you're doing. And just thank you for coming on and sharing your wisdom.
Thank you, Tamar. Thank you so much for having me and yeah, allowing me to share. And I just so honor your beautiful work. And yeah, this podcast is such a potent space. Yeah, so much wisdom here. So
Thank,
thank you for sharing your light in the world.
thank you. And let's do this again. There's so much to share that needs to be out there.